Darmok, Ensign Ro, and the Outcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Seventh Rule with Sirach Lofton.
Hello.
My name is Ryan T. Husk, and today we are doing a review of all of Season 5. This is our Season 5 review special. Some people say it's the best season of Next Generation. In fact, I think a lot of polls put number 5 at number 1. Let's talk all about it. We're going to fly through every episode at warp speed. How are you today, Sirach?
I'm doing great. I'm excited about this. This was actually a very good season. So, yes, I kind of can see if you go for overall episodes, like this might be the one that has the most good episodes in a season. Even though there are episodes from other seasons that I like a lot, maybe even some more than others in this season.
Yeah.
You know, I still think Measure of a Man, I always just burned in my head as just such a good episode.
And this one, season 5 does have a dip. You know, there's a few in a row. You know, it does have a dip, like a nice little roller coaster. But so far, it seems to have the most amount of bangers. So it's kind of like overall,
Yeah, overall, it's you know, it's been, you know, what happens is, and this happened for us too, when we were doing DS9, is at some point you're settled. You know, there's like, in the beginning, you're getting to know the characters, you're getting to know what the plot is going to be about. You're just starting to feel things out. You're getting to know the other actors that you're working alongside, the crew as well. And then, you know, as those kind of things break down and you realize, oh, we're here for the long run, which kind of hits you around season 4, you know, 3 or 4. Mm-hmm. That's when you feel like, oh, there's some stability to this series and we're not just going to be canceled right away. So around season 3, 4 is when you start to get rooted in the characters. You really start feeling comfortable, and you can tell that level of comfortability with these characters and their relationships with each other.
Yeah, so let's get into it. Everybody, please make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon for notifications, and if you're listening in, give us a 5-star rating and a nice review. We'd really appreciate that. And please come visit us at Sirach's place. He lives in, visit us on patreon.com/the7th rule. That's patreon.com/the7th rule to support the show and become part of the team. We'd really appreciate that. So this season, I'm already looking at this. Season 5, episode 1 was Redemption Part 2.
Yeah.
That was the Klingon Civil War. That feels like that was 3 years ago already.
I know. That's all. And that's because, again, you know, you watch shows now and it's like 8 episodes in a season. And so 3 seasons worth is basically what we watched in this 5th season, you know, comparatively, when you think about these 10 episode seasons and 8 episode seasons that we get nowadays. So yeah, it feels like a long time ago. But Redemption Part 2, this was Ronald Moore, David Carson. So they hit us with David Carson is directing. So they got a really great director for this. They got Ronald Moore, who's, you know, arguably the best writer of, you know, Star Trek. Yeah. One of them, at least. And
he actually, I would say he's on the Mount Rushmore of Star Trek writers. We should do that one of these days. Just have like a Mount Rushmore of Star Trek writers. But we had a great guest for this one. Can we even call her a guest? She's really part of the team. It's Denise Crosby. So it was great to have her back for that.
Yeah.
Because her character, Sela, was in it. But then we moved on to Darmok. Darmok is
was a classic
favorite. Like people,
that's a classic.
You've been hearing about this one since the DS9 days, even.
Yeah. Love this episode. This is another favorite of mine. So look, they started with Redemption Part 2. They gave us Tony Todd. They gave us Denise Crosby. And then we come here to Darmok. And I thought the guest star in this was fantastic. The actor who played, you know, the Cation, right? Was that what he was? Or
Paul Winfield, yes, who played
Paul Winfield.
Tamarian. That's what it was. He played Darmok. Captain Dathan, the Temerian by Paul Winfield. That's a lot of names.
Paul Winfield was phenomenal in this episode. And this is one of those episodes that once you see it, you can't.
Yeah.
It leaves a burning impression in your mind. So yes, Darmok and Jalad on Tanagra, right?
It's there forever. Yep, everybody quotes it forever. Then we had Ensign Ro. We were just introduced to Ensign Ro this season.
I know.
What a great character.
Very good character. Started off with a bang. As far as
what do you mean?
No, I meant the attraction that we felt between, or the chemistry opposite Riker's character, and so there was a lot of conflict there. We also know that she's the blueprint for what eventually became Major Kira's character, and we got the gift of the Visitor and her portrayal of that. So, yeah, Ensign Ro, what can you say? She was fantastic. Les Landau, Michael Piller, Rick Berman wrote it. Les directed it. And, I thought she was fantastic. On screen, she's beautiful to watch, and you can see why this character would be a character you would want to bring back in some form or fashion in a reiteration of the show. Much like what you got with Discovery and how they spinned off Georgiou's character. When a character comes on and is so impactful on a series, they think about ways in which they can bring that character back and use them again. Unfortunately, when you get Ensign Ro, we got a Visitor, which I am totally satisfied.
We're okay with that.
Yeah, we're good with that.
And then next we had Silicon Avatar, or Silicone Avatar. That was with the crystalline entity returning. That one is, I don't want to call it a less memorable episode, but it just kind of continues on from like the first season. So you can easily forget that it's in the 5th season because it feels like an early season episode.
Yeah, this doesn't have that much of a memorable impact on me. Let's see, I have guest actor was excellent. I don't even remember perhaps who that was, but I don't know. Dr. Marr. Yeah, it just I don't know. It just didn't jump out at me as something that it blew my mind away.
Yeah, it's one of those episodes where if you ask a Star Trek fan, hey, remember Silicon Avatar? They go, oh, yeah. And you say, which season's that in? They'll be like, ooh, I don't know, 2?
Yeah, honestly, I'm reading my notes and I still don't know what it's about, really. It's trying to, this Silicon Avatar trying to communicate with them and all this stuff. Yeah, okay.
But it's a chill one. It's good. You watch it, you enjoy it. It's just a good meal right there. It's comfort food. Then we had Disaster. That is a very memorable episode to me. We had a very memorable guest. Mr. Dan Curry joined us because he did all these visual effects for it. This is one that I remember really well because of everybody had their groupings. Everybody had their moments and their scenes. They did a really good job of that.
Yeah, this is also a Ronald Moore episode, so he comes back in.
There he is.
We also had Gabriel Beaumont directing this. If I'm not mistaken, this is a moment where they used Data's head and they plugged into his head, right?
Yeah.
So I have a Data head drawing here. So that's what sticks out. Data's head on a platter.
It's not the last time we had Data's head in an episode. In fact, they did that like basically twice in one season. Another thing that happened twice in one season, no spoilers, but Will Wheaton joined us for episode 6, The Game. If you remember that one, boy, that's another memorable one. Sometimes you'll see people cosplaying with, The Game. And then, of course, we had the very memorable Ashley Judd playing Robin Leffler, who is kind of like Wesley's friend, if you'll recall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was lucky for that. Good on him.
He got a 70-year-old and he got Ashley Judd.
Yeah. Big takeaway from that is just, Will Wheaton being gracious enough to join us and share his experience working with Ashley on that and, reminiscing on those days. I do have that drawing of that kind of cylindrical cone thing where you have to put the disc in the cone. And yeah, so that did stand out to me. This was a great episode. We also had, if I'm not mistaken, a Nurse Ogawa sighting in this episode.
Yes, love her.
We had Boothby in this episode as well. I think there was a Boothby mention, if not mistaken.
Let me see. Was it?
Yeah, there was some recall.
Yeah. Right. Picard talking to Crusher about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Will Wheaton's my big takeaway from this is Will Wheaton saying, "You mean the suck disc episode?"
Oh yes. How could I forget that? Everybody was sucking discs through the whole episode, and Wesley Crusher was like, "No, I don't want to suck disc." And then even his girlfriend finally gave in and was like, "Dude, you got to try it though. It's really fun to suck disc."
Yeah, that was the big highlight from that.
Oh, good old Will Wheaton, what a champ!
But by the way, so far, really only one episode that didn't jump out, which was Silicone Avatar.
Yeah.
That's the Jerry Taylor, Cliff Bowl episode. But so far, we're 6 episodes in, and I like 5 of them.
Well, not only do we like them, they're just very memorable. Like,
they're memorable.
They stick with you forever. Just like this next one, this was huge when it happened. We go from Beverly Crusher's son to Leonard Nimoy's son. Adam Nimoy joined us for Unification Part 1 to tell us what it was like being on set when his dad, playing Spock, returned for TNG. When I remember when I saw Spock say, "And you have found him, Captain Picard," I was like, "What?"
Yeah.
And just like everybody did,
Yeah. This is a memorable episode. This is, Jerry Taylor, teleplay, Rick Berman, and Michael Piller, obviously another, leaving their impact on the show with this one as well. I thought this was a great idea because you do want to have tie-in from one show to the other. You do want to have, characters tie in, and this is perfect for that. And we've seen Spock's father before, so I thought that was another good tie-in as well.
Yeah, Sarek.
Yeah.
And then really easy tie-in to episode 8, which was Unification Part 2. Not a ton to talk about there. Very memorable episode, very memorable 2-parter. Next Generation has some legendary 2-parters. I remember actually a handful of them just in the 7th season. One of my favorite episodes, 2-parters, I don't want to give it away, but is in season 7, a whole bunch of them. So I remember buying those little box sets where it's like, you can get Unification Part 1 and Part 2 for $29.95 or something. You're like, what a deal, because apart they're $19.95. But anyway, that was really cool.
Yeah, and you know what? We also got to see a performance for Denise where she gets to be a villain, because she played Sela in these 2-parter, and it's always fun to get a chance to, when you're a character that people like and love, and we accept you as somebody who's a nice person, to just be able to flip the coin sometimes and get to, tap into the inner villain in your performance. And I thought she did a great job with that.
It's fun to tap into the villain. But I snuck ahead, and I kind of chuckled when I saw the next one. A Matter of Time was episode 9. That was when this guy, played by Max Headroom, or the guy that plays Max Headroom, he was like coming back in time, but really he was further back in time, that stole somebody's ship from further up in time and then came back and was stealing stuff. That actually, to me, is a very memorable episode because it had that twist at the end that I was definitely not. We knew there was something going on with this guy, but I didn't think it's a guy from actually our past, or their past.
Yeah, didn't have much of a B story in this episode. Mm-hmm. It was, that was the main thing. I do remember the thing that jumped out to me the most was that little watch that he had, a ring watch thing, where he was like talking into this thing that he flipped open. I thought, how cool was that? So yeah,
hit some poison in there too.
Yeah, that had a little twist. So,
okay, what was next? Oh boy, New Ground. Let me just read this one to remind us. Geordi can barely curtail his enthusiasm at being able to test out a new theory of transportation as Worf's mother boards the Enterprise with his son and news that Worf's earthly parents can no longer care for him. So this was the big Alexander comes home to roost episode. And
Your
Worf
favorite.
Oh, did you see the thing I sent you?
Yeah.
Because actually, I'm just going to show everybody this here. This meme
It was a Happy
here.
Father's Day gift or something.
Yeah, it was like.
It was.
I mean, a lot of people have seen this before, I'm sure, but it's so funny. So it's Guinan talking to Worf. She says, "Happy Father's Day, Worf," and he says, "What? I'm not." "Oh yeah, thanks." Good old Worf.
Yeah, that basically sums up this episode. The Roshenkos and everybody trying to push off, Worf's mom trying to basically drop off his kid and saying, "Look, we can't do this anymore." And, that's when we see Alexander. And that's another character that we really get more of in this season as well, right? This is just one thing after another. And so, yes, I also remembered Skeletor, the Worf combat
yes.
buddy.
That's what they kind of did. It seemed like, now remember, we basically lost Wesley Crusher as a main character, right? He used to be a main character. And it seemed like in the second season, they added Guinan to be pretty main, but then she just kind of wasn't around. She was probably busy winning Emmys or whatever. And so she was around sporadically. And then remember in the first and second season, they kept trying to introduce new characters like the Benzite guy, Mordock, or Ensign Mendon. And then they brought in Dr. Solar for one episode and she never came back. But now they're getting better at this, right? They brought in Alexander and we've seen him a few times. They brought in Ensign Ro. We've seen her a bunch of times, So now we're seeing more of Guinan. So now it's like we have the core 7, but we definitely have some recurring characters. Barkley, we've seen him a couple times too, So that's what I like about these later seasons.
I put Alexander on that list too.
Yep.
I know you're not the most fond of it, but
what? No, he's definitely there. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's part of the whole, like I said, world building for these guys. We see the extended characters that are interconnected.
And I think Keiko's been only in 1 or 2 episodes. She's been mentioned a couple other times, but she really gets her recurring character roles in Deep Space Nine. I think we've seen her once or twice. I think it's twice, right? Yeah. Once when O'Brien was marrying her, and then once when in Disaster, when she's giving birth. Like that's it. They're like, okay, your job is to get married, and then another episode, your job is to give birth. And she's like, can I cook and clean too in the 3rd episode, bro? Jeez, give me something to work with here.
Yeah.
But anyway, episode 11 was Hero Worship. So Hero Worship was when Data rescues that orphan kid, Timothy, and Timothy starts to emulate Data. Remember, Data starts combing his hair with 2 combs for some weird reason? There was that scene.
Yeah. Not the greatest episode for me. It was okay though, because there was some comedy in there. There were those,
definitely.
That boy was good at imitating Data. I remember the daycare and then putting this whole little thing together. It's like Roman Colosseum looking thing. But this episode was directed by Patrick Stewart, so this was, if I'm not mistaken, one of his first directing episodes.
I think it was his first, yeah. First or second?
First or second, right?
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, what was next after? Oh boy. Then there was Violations. Everybody's favorite, Violations. That's one that you just kind of watch it and you're just trying to get through it because it's not. It's where this guy kind of like violates Deanna Troi.
Oh yeah.
He's got like this mind thing, and and he's pretending to be other people, getting violent with people and stuff like that.
Yeah. He's like getting in your mind, and it was like kind of like a sexual violation episode. Yep. It wasn't that, it was kind of traumatic to watch. It's it leaves a bad feeling when you feel what it's trying to make you feel.
Mhm.
Yeah, it wasn't my favorite. I can say that.
Yeah,
Got a 6.2 on IMDb.
I can agree that it wasn't your favorite, but or mine. But then up next, we had the Masterpiece Society, just reaching the midway point of the season already. And we had the Masterpiece Society. We had a very special guest, our friend, our pal, Dr. Muhammad Noor, because there was all kinds of biology stuff. I don't know how we could have gotten through it without him, because we had so many questions. We're like, this is really interesting, but can you dumb it down for us? At least that's how I felt. I'm like, can you explain it in a way which he does so well, which is he still explains it in some complicated fashion, but for some reason he says it in a language that my brain can grasp, and I feel smarter. He makes me feel smart listening to him because I'm like, yeah, I get it, bro. I get it. Well, I'm with you. He's great.
Yeah, and the basic theme behind this one was some kind of genetic selection in which they're
Mhm.
looking for perfection and they're trying to achieve perfection amongst their society. I
Right.
remember one of the offensive things that lines that stood out to me was when the guy looked at Jordy and he says, you know, I'm sorry. I know you're embarrassed by your
Right.
disability.
His
Eh,
eyes. Yeah.
And then, he said, if you were born here or we would have discarded you, you know, you wouldn't have value to us. And that's where he became the problem solver at the end. And it was like, remember the guy that you would have thrown away and
Yeah.
killed? What?
Saved your life, saved your planet. So what would that have
You-
said about your planet? Nothing. You'd be gone. No,
exactly.
and that's great. And that's a very Star Trek kind of thing
Yeah.
to do. Um, we're going to take our break right here, but the next episode, because we're right at the midway point, the next episode, not only was it our 500th episode review, 500,
Big
um,
5-0.
every single
Oh.
week, sometimes twice, no 5-0s. uh, but also, we had a gigantic guest joining us. It was a first time guest for us, and we're super excited.
Big
So
time.
stick around, everybody. He was number one in our hearts. We'll be right back on the seventh rule.